You have these great grandiose ideas. This is how we're going to treat our customer. This is how we're going to increase sales. But the core of what we do, where the customer is meeting the ambassador of the brand in person, I think that's going to be a ways off. Can't send a robot in to do that. That's not going to work. Right. AI will not have the final word. It's not there yet. I think where AI can shine is really some of the more mechanical stuff. What I feel most terrible for are all the people who were told, learn to code, learn to code.
Welcome to today's episode of the Consulting Growth Blueprint. We have a very special guest today, Michael Glazer, President of Premier Service. Michael has spent more than 30 years building Premier Service across Canada and US, helping companies see what's really happening on the ground through mystery shopping, merchandising, audits, and field support. Michael's work is especially important because in a lot of companies, there's often a big gap between what head office thinks is happening and what's actually happening in the field. And he helps companies close that gap. Michael, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
For those of you just joined the podcast, we are Truvia AI Consulting, and we specialize in helping consulting companies scale their revenue using AI-driven client acquisition systems. If you want to learn how to take your consulting business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth in the comments. All right, Michael, can you tell us a little bit about Premier Service? What do you do for your clients, and what made you stay and grow your business for 30 years?
That's a great question, actually. I'll give you my 1 minute version so I don't bore your listeners. But essentially, it all started 35 years ago as a mystery shopping company, which is what we do most of right now is mystery shopping. And essentially what we do is, because a lot of people are not familiar with mystery shopping. You know, what is that? What is that? So essentially, mystery shopping is the service where we go into stores, restaurants, car dealerships, you name it. Our team goes in undercover. Now, I know people hear undercover, they think you're going to catch shoplifters and stealing. No, we're not detectives. We go in posing as regular customers with a predefined survey of things we're looking for that our clients wanted us to evaluate. So we'll go to a store. Again, it could be a restaurant, could be anything. And we go through the regular service encounter, if there is such a thing as a regular service encounter in retail. And we go in, behave regularly, anonymously, speaking to the clerks, the associates, whoever's working there. And we come back and fill out the survey, what went on, the pros, the cons. It's very operations based. It's not a marketing thing. We don't normally ask, how did you feel about this? Or how did you feel about that? There are some questions like that, but for the most part, we're there to make sure that in the field or in the trade, the actual sales associates, the brand reps properly do what they are supposed to do, representing their store or the brand. In case it's a consumer goods company, they don't actually work in the stores, but they sell their products to the stores, and they want to make sure it's displayed prominently. The associates say good things about them. They answer the questions appropriately, upsell when needed, and provide all the information that a customer should get. It's very easy in consulting to make recommendations. These are our selling steps. This is our core offering. But like we always say in the business, there's a very big gap between policy and implementation. So right. We're there to make sure things are implemented properly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I a little bit tried to dig into what mystery shopping is. I think there are many ways people do it. I think like consultancy, especially people who are working remotely. There's a lot of people they try to get into companies' calls and understand what they're offering and all that stuff. I think that's also one way to people kind of explore their business and explore their client base. So thanks for explaining that. I think a lot of people will not know what mystery shopping is. Right. And so in our last discussion, you mentioned that there is a big difference between policy and implementation. Head office may think something is happening, but that doesn't mean it's actually happening in the street or in the ground. So after being in this company, being in this profession for so many years, what do companies consistently misunderstand about their own operations?
I think the biggest part of the problem is that, like you mentioned earlier, you're sitting at head office, you have these great grandiose ideas. This is how we're going to treat our customer. This is how we're going to display our product. This is how we're going to increase sales. And it's great. I mean, this is fantastic. Step one is making the process, making the standard operating procedures. That's wonderful. Implementing it is the I wouldn't say problem, it's the opportunity. There are no problems, right? Only opportunities. And that's where we come in. I mean, the nice thing about and we do other services too, like merchandising and whatnot. But the thing with mystery shopping that's interesting, from my perspective, I always say things like profit and loss statements. They'll tell you how your business is doing. A mystery shopping report will tell you why. And that's key. Because if you work in a store, let's say one of our clients is a retail chain, a clothing store, whatever. So you work in the store. Sometimes sales go up, sales go down, loss prevention, shrinkage could be high one day. A lot of things you might perceive as being out of your control. You might be a store manager and your bonus is tied to sales, but what if the product isn't what people want? What if there's no traffic in the mall? As a store manager, like you're a victim of circumstance. The thing with what we do is what we evaluate is you are totally in control of that. Whether a store has 100 customers in there or one customer in there, you as a sales rep, as a sales associate, as a clerk, whatever word you want to use, you are in control of that encounter. And if you're polite and you do some upselling and you're acknowledging the customer and you're offering suggestions and you're inviting them to return, there's no excuse. So when you are confronted with a mystery shopping report from your district manager or someone from head office, it's a great opportunity to get some feedback right from the customer's eyes. It doesn't matter if there was a snowstorm outside and the sales were flat that day. This is your opportunity to show what you can do representing the store or the brand.
I see. Yeah. So do you think I think there is a gap that you already mentioned. Do you think it gets bigger as the company gets bigger? What's happening in the head office and what's happening on the ground? Or it doesn't matter?
Certainly, of course. I mean, and that's the issue a lot of companies face. You'll have, let's say, just take the extreme. You own a restaurant. It's your restaurant. You know the recipes. You give great service. You keep the place clean. Wonderful. Then you open up a second location. Okay, you're going back and forth. Then the third location, you're going to hire a manager there, of course. But as that expands, the heart and soul of that first restaurant with your vision of customer service and going over and above and doing little tricks to help increase sales. Have you tried our lemon pie? Or whatever it may be. When you're up to 1,000 locations, I could assure you it's a heck of a challenge to make sure that happens. And that's what we see.
I see. Yeah, definitely. I think that makes sense. I mean, it's logical that as the company grows, that challenge will be much bigger to tackle with. So moving on, I think we have talked about that in our previous conversation, where so much gets tracked through dashboards and reports. Your business still depends on real people going into stores, restaurants, dealership, and job sites to see what's actually happening. So why is that still essential? Can you replace that with some other means, or can you remove the human layer that companies otherwise miss?
Well, it's possible, but the good news for us anyway is that because we are in the stores and we're engaging in a conversation, okay, you can't send a robot in to do that. That's not going to work. Right. You can't. I mean, you could try if we do some telephone mystery shopping. Yeah, you could possibly get an AI agent to call the store. And you know what? Maybe right now it's not there yet. There's the pause, the lag, but it could get there. Absolutely. But in person, I think that's going to be a ways off. Right now, thankfully, from our perspective, with the advent of AI, it's helping us a lot. It's helping us designing the survey and programming the system and validating of the reports after. Even a sales proposal, what ChatGPT can generate in seconds could have been a weekend of work necessarily. So AI is wonderful for that stuff. But the core of what we do, where the customer is meeting the ambassador of the brand or the sales associate of the brand, that can't be replaced. It won't be able to be replaced for a while. At least I hope not, because that's what we do. And if that's the case, I mean, other things we do, like we do a lot of merchandising as well. We go to the stores and deliver the displays, assemble them, put the planogram. It's got to be a person. It has to be a person. We could use AI tools to help with that. But I think we are a long way off at this point from being replaced because humans are needed, thankfully, for now.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. That one of those reasons probably you have stayed in this business for more than 35 years is that you found something that probably would not go away.
And that is by chance. It's just by chance. And I feel terrible what's happening with so many people losing jobs, the layoff, Oracle. You hear every day. I see it even in my company. The thing that I really like when it comes to AI is that it frees up people's time to do the stuff where humans are needed. The simplest Excel macro, which someone would have taken 4 hours to create, to whatever, do something with a dashboard or a customized API integration. You know, how nice is it to not have to spend all that time coding on the back end? Ask AI for help. That's great. But yeah, the core of what we do, whether it's intercepting people in stores or assembling displays or the brand ambassadors who offer you samples when you walk out and give you a hat, and that's all people. Sure, we could be replaced by kiosks. You know, walk by the thing, touch the iPad on a scale from 1 to 5. Yeah, so there's no doubt there is less reliance than given these technologies than just human. But for the most part, thankfully, the space that we're in, humans have a while to go before they're completely replaced.
I agree. Thank you for explaining that. So also in our last conversation, you said something very fascinating. Like when a client asks for something, your instinct that the answer is always yes. Okay, we can do it. Maybe we have to outsource this. Maybe you use AI. Maybe you hire more people. But the answer is always yes. So what does that philosophy say about how you have built trust and grown the business over? How that helps you? And maybe in some ways you feel a little bit of challenge, maybe following that philosophy.
Well, I'll tell you, on the one hand, this is why we've grown. This is why we're still in business. When a client, I never forget who my clients are, right? Paying them, who puts gas in my car? Who pays for my mortgage? It's the client. So you better believe that if they say, can you meet with me in 5 minutes? Or can you send someone to the store tomorrow? Or can you, the answer is, it's always yes. We'll find a way. It might be more expensive. That's possible. But we will always find a way. And I think that's how we've grown over the years, because we don't do any outbound sales at this point. Everything is word of mouth. They heard about this. Someone might have worked for a client of ours. Then they switch to a different company and they call us. I mean, we have a lot of real estate clients. I think we're up to about 15 real estate clients. We never made a sales call. I've never called a real estate company. It's they heard about us. They've moved around. They switch companies. They tell their friends. And it grows that way. I mean, you treat people well and it comes back to you. That's the philosophy. The challenge, however, is when they do ask for these requests, it's like, oh my gosh, how are we going to fulfill that? Because and my staff will get mad at me sometimes. Why do you always say yes? Why did you promise this? So guys, like, it's the client. This is what we do. So there is that pull between saying yes to the client and the team saying, oh my gosh, now we got to do it. It's 8:00 at night. Now we got to work on this, or it's a weekend. So that's the challenge, is striking a balance. But we never forget, customer is king. I mean, the irony is we're in mystery shopping. So we're there evaluating our clients on a daily basis. How are they acting? How are they behaving? How are they treating the customer? Imagine if we didn't do that, But a lot of irony would be there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it works in a lot of ways, I think, as you mentioned, to study your clients as well. So just asking you another question on that. So you mentioned that next big space for your company, Premier Service, is streamlining efficiency and using more AI on the back end, especially because the business is so labor intensive. So what are you trying to preserve as you modernize the business? And what do you most want AI to take off your plate?
I think where AI can shine is really some of the more mechanical stuff. Like, for example, let's say you want to start a mystery shopping program. It used to require a full day. We got to make the surveys. We got to code them. We got to score them. We got to translate them into different languages. If we do up in Canada, Quebec is French. So we got to translate to French. There are a lot of steps involved in even just doing the instructions for the shopper. How many minutes were spent, trying to pick the right emoji for that bullet, Now with AI, it just speeds up the process. So we used to charge clients a pretty decent amount for a setup fee. Full day of work, the surveys, the instructions, the guides, the programming, the certifications. Nowadays, a lot of that is AI. AI will not have the final word. It's not there yet. We have to review everything. But what would have taken 7 hours could now be done in an hour and a half. So and we pass along the segments to the client. We can't charge a $2,000 setup fee when we know we're just putting into ChatGPT, getting out the questions, getting out the instructions. We used to use every mystery shopper and every merchandiser has to take a quiz before they start working with us, just to make sure they understand that particular mission in front of them. So we give them the training, they do the Zoom calls, whatever it is. And then there's like 7 to 10 questions to make sure they understood everything they've been taught. And they have to score 100%. If they get a question wrong, they're not going to the store. So back in the day, just creating a good certification, and there's an art to it, art and science. when to use fill in the blanks, when to use a negative question, when to use multiple choice. That took a lot of time to do it well. But AI now, we could import the instructions and the survey to the system and say, create for us a 7-question certification to ensure the field worker knows what they're doing. And like 10 seconds after hit return, it's done. So it's just fantastic like that. That way we could spend time on the more important things, working with the client, engaging with the staff, and not spending 3 hours developing a quiz. So I just think it's phenomenal for all of us.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think how efficiently you are using what can be automated, what was mechanical. Trying to use AI in different areas. I think you mentioned about the survey and setting up for your clients. But are there any other places that you are thinking, okay, maybe we can use AI over there as well? Maybe this.
Well, I'll tell you, we've used it. One thing that's fantastic, some clients have come to us wanting industry benchmarks. I mentioned we have 13 real estate companies, clients of ours, and they're all discrete surveys. When one of our clients said, hey, we would like to see where we stand up against the competition, anonymized, of course, we're not going to give everyone's name, but how are they doing compared to others? That probably would have taken about 2-3 days of the statistical analysis, what questions on each survey are similar, which are not, and so many things, because you want to give proper information to the client. You don't just want to throw junk out there. So you do need a knowledge of statistics. Is it valid? Do we have enough of a sample size? Now you could take all of those 13 clients, put it into AI, into an LLM or what have you, and then it comes out and you got a 4-page analysis where the client ranks, where the shortcomings are, where they shine, recommendations. I mean, that's fantastic. And it's funny because in a way, it's a double-edged sword, because had a client asked me for that 4 years ago, I would have charged a fair amount of money. There are a lot of hours involved. But this time when the client asked me, I didn't even charge them. I said, here you go. Here's your industry now. I felt bad charging for it because it just, I literally just uploaded it, came back with the 5 pages and said, here you go, enjoy. So maybe from a business standpoint, that's not something I should have done, but it's like, come on, I pressed a couple buttons. I touched up the headers a little bit, picked a nicer font, and there you are. So it's value added for the customer. Like, how do I charge $5,000 for that when I know I just uploaded it and out it came? So it's valued for everybody, except for me, I guess. I'm the one who lost the potential revenue of an industry benchmark analysis. But hey, it was 10 minutes, so done. Phenomenal. I love it.
I agree. So so all those people who used to do analysis for you, they get to do that. I think the use of AI that you are mentioning here.
Well, I guess that's the one downside. I mean, the person who would have been called, we use a lot of contractors in the business because we have such unique clients. A lot of the times we outsource this type of work. So this would have been, we don't have a full-time statistical engineer on board who could do that. But it's true. You know what? That would have gone out to, different sites, whether it's Indeed or, hey, we seek a 1-week contract with an analyst who could do cross-industry, Yeah, that person, I guess, didn't get the work because they were replaced. So I feel terrible about it, I mean, when you hear AI taking all these jobs, I don't care who you are. It's not a good thing in many ways. But I guess the client benefits. At the end of the day, the client is the one who really benefits. So what can we do?
Yeah, I think as you mentioned, I was just having, before this call, a conversation with another coach, and we were discussing how AI can actually help expanding like human thinking. Like, okay, I'm not limited to this analyst job or whatever, and they can maybe explore what else they are made of, what else they can explore. So I think that's also one, like, a positive side of it. Now, there's definitely a tough situation, but there's some positive side to it, and maybe we'll get to know in a few years.
No, definitely. And there'll still be jobs, just different types of jobs. I mean, what I feel most terrible for are all the people who were told, learn to code. Your future will be secure. And I know people who went to school 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they're done. One of my friends he left the program. He's like, I don't need to graduate here because the coding that's done now is almost all automated. So all these people who were counting on hours and hours and hours each day building a career in coding, now it's gone. It's gone. No human can code the way AI can code. Of course, you still need humans there and to oversee and whatnot. We're not there yet. But for the most part, it's sad in a way. And I guess it was like that. Industrial revolution, factories, automation inside factories. Oh my God, the robots are coming. How many jobs were lost assembling cars replaced by robots? And this is where we are right now. It's going to be a tough situation. So people in the trades, like even at retail as well is not so much because of AI, but because of online sellers like Amazon and whatnot. Having a brick and mortar retail store, it's tough nowadays because people will, the margins they were commanding years ago, someone walks into your store and they see, I don't know, a remote control or whatever it is for $80, one click away. They could see all the competitors. They could see what Amazon is selling it for, eBay even, and it brings down all the margins quite a bit. So it's tough. And that's one of the reasons, I guess, why we're doing well now, because the people who do walk into brick and mortar old school stores, they need something that differentiates the experience to an online retailer. So I think that's one of the things that's great for us is customer service is not just it can't be an afterthought. If someone's in your store, yes, there are a lot of marketing campaigns, but I always say 90% of a company's marketing campaign occurs within the four walls of their store. That's the moment of truth. And that's where we are to help, to evaluate, to offer suggestions, to audit. And that's how we're still going strong, thankfully.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So let's pivot to your own business. Let's turn the lens on your own business. You mentioned that the US market is still like relatively new. For Premier Service, you were in Canada, then now you're expanding in US. And then a major focus right now is streamline and implementing more AI on the back end. So where is Premier Service right now? Are you in active growth mode, focused on expanding the business in the US? Or is the bigger focus on building the systems and efficiency first?
It's both. Like I tend to be a little bit self-deprecating. We have no systems, but truthfully, they're pretty good. Yes, they need to be updated a little bit. It's hard to keep track of everything, but for the most part, our processes, our SOPs, our standards, they're pretty good. They need improvement, of course, but for the most part, we're beyond that stage where we were maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where create the process, because every business needs processes. Otherwise, you're not going to grow. You can't be the business, the leaders can't be everywhere at once. So you need these instructions, these recipes, these processes, the procedures. So we're pretty solid like that. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. So, right. But we could always refine it. They always need refining. They always need improving, but it's not a core focus at this point. Thankfully, a great team that did some great work. We have like a knowledge base and all that jazz. We use an app called Bookstack. You might have heard of it, may not have heard of it. It's right on our server. We host it. And it's like a big knowledge base, FAQ. You could put videos of text, photos, great hyperlinks. It's really worked very well for us, actually.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. I think what I was also trying to get out of you, you mentioned that you want to move from basic AI use to more like agentic workflows. Yes, and I think you mentioned how you used ChatGPT in different scenarios. But what part of the business that we want to most streamline first? Using agentic workflows? I
think a lot of what we do with our current mystery shopping and other applications, they're still very manual. Yes, ChatGPT will help us for sure, but then someone's got to type them in. Someone's got to act on it. As the agents get better, I mean, that's going to be key because we're just spending a lot of manual time. Like our schedulers, we have schedulers who schedule all the different provinces and states. Their biggest value is in talking to the mystery shoppers. It's developing the territories, not clicking on buttons and doing the things that have to happen in the software. If we get more AI agents, I think that's going to be just amazing for them. That's going to be mystery shopper calls up and says, hey, I can't go to the store today. I need to go tomorrow instead. So the human's like, oh, thank you for writing in. Very sorry to hear you're not feeling well today. You could go tomorrow. They have to log into the system, go to the emission in question, click on the due date, change it, submit it, done. What a waste of time. If the AI agent can perhaps field that initial call, I cannot do the work tonight. I wish to extend it tomorrow. If the rules are met, an automated reply could say, thank you very much. It's going to be done. You could do it tomorrow. Go to the system, change the date, hit submit, and the humans don't have to waste their time clicking those buttons and whatnot. That's going to be phenomenal for us if and when it happens.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially like in your business, you have developed these systems. I think replacing some system will be good, but it's also a little bit challenging because
Sure.
something is working. Sometimes people don't want to disrupt it.
Right.
Yeah.
Disruption is good, though. Disruption is good.
I agree. So let's look ahead in your business that we are already talking about it. So where do you want Premier Service to be in 6 to 12 months from now? What does the next level look like?
I think growth is key, but slow growth, because you don't want to grow too fast. You don't want to be greedy. My father always said, bigger isn't always better. Acquiring even one client a week, that's still 50 new clients a year. That's fine. We don't need an influx every day of tons and tons and tons of clients. We're at a very good baseline now, doing pretty well for ourselves. So slow growth. In 5 years, I'd say it would be good to be double where we are today. So let's say 20% a year, 20% for the next 4 or 5 years. That I think is key. Yeah, that's basically it.
All right. Yeah. So Michael, sounds like you've had an incredible journey so far, building
It's fun.
Premier
It's
Service for 30 years, expanding North America, now entering a new phase with US growth. I think you are also talking about like adding AI driven efficiency, using more like agentic workflows. Then you touched on streamlining growth and making the business more scalable. And so suppose if you had a magic wand to fix one thing on that front, like scaling your business, what would that be?
It's a good question. The magic wand question.
Yeah, the magic
I
wand.
would say it's twofold. I want 2 wands. Can I have 2 wands? So the first one, like I mentioned earlier, we do have pretty good operating procedures and processes, but they get outdated. If I could take that magic wand and just hit the book stack link and everything is updated and everything, because look, when you're in the middle of work, let's be honest, serving the client is number 1. Cleaning up your process in the back end, that's number 2. So if that magic wand to just get us all the processes are updated and up to date, that would be great. And also, because we don't do outbound sales, it would be nice to have more inbound requests. I don't like the cold calling. I don't like doing that kind of jazz. It's obtrusive. That's the way to grow a business, though. Maybe I should get over my fears of annoying people. Like on LinkedIn, there's probably 1,000 potential customers in my network. Right. But if we could just get them to write to us, I think that's really key. And not to start, whether it's automated or quasi-automated. It would just be nice to have the inbound sales happen frequently, That's it.
Yeah, definitely. I think you mentioned about your fear of reaching out, annoying people. I think a lot of people go through that fear. What will this guy think of me? Especially like how things have been working for you over 30 years. I think you have developed a reputation, and clients usually come from like word of mouth. I think maybe that challenge is probably bigger for you than a lot of other people who are just starting.
True.
Yeah. So I think I can definitely understand how that, like you mentioned, there is a gap between like head office and things that are happening on the ground, especially for you. I think that's where your challenge is to just overcome that.
That's it. We'll see. But that's my magic wand. That's what I want.
Yeah, perfect. So before we wrap up, Michael, if anyone listening who wants better visibility to what's really happening on the ground in their business, where can people find you, and what's the best way to connect with you?
You can find me on your podcast. But other than that, the website, premierservice.cx, customer experience. CA also works for Canada. US for the USA. CX is both. Google Premier Service. If you write in, you'll probably get a response within about 20 minutes, because that's what we do. And we're here to help. We're here to help businesses of all shapes and sizes make sure that things in the field and in the trade are going as well as they could and should be.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. This has been an amazing conversation. Really appreciate your time and insights today. I think a lot of people will get a lot of value out of this. We explored some areas, we learned about mystery shopping, and people who will be interested in your service, maybe they will be connecting with you as well. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and then drop the word growth in the comments. And Michael, thanks again for being on the Consulting Growth Blueprint.
Thank you. Great chatting with you.